Hi garden friends, this is an interactive video. You see, I have a problem and I think you can help me. I can grow Henderson butter beans year after year with pretty good success. When it comes to Fordhook Lima beans, it's a different story. One year, I'll get a bumper crop, and the next year, nothing. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So I figured I'd make this video interactive. You see, I'm very active on the comment section whenever I make a video. So I figure if I'm having a problem with my Fordhook butter beans, a lot of you, my garden friends, are having a problem too. So let's help each other. I'll share with you how I do really well with my Henderson butter beans. Then I'll show you what I'm doing with my Fordhook Lima beans, and maybe you can spot what I'm doing wrong. So let's get together and share with each other how to successfully grow butter beans. I'll start first.
All I have needs, I have not provided.
These are Henderson butter beans. They're your smaller butter beans. I planted these about 2.5 months ago, and now they're ready to harvest. When I did plant them, I planted them in a 3-foot wide bed, and there was not any mulch on the bed. You see, I've learned that tender seedlings don't want to come up through mulch. So I wait until that new bush is about 4 to 6 inches tall before I push the mulch up around it. Butter beans are a bit particular about watering. If you don't give them enough water, then they won't develop their pods. If you overwater them, then they super develop their pods. The plant will just send all that water up into the pods, and then you've got soggy beans on the inside. It's really weird, but I guess that's what they're designed to do. So if it hasn't been raining, check your soil. Stick your finger into the soil. It's a real easy test. If it's dry, you need to water them. Check them frequently. Get to know your soil and know how often you do need to water. Here in Florida, well, it rains a lot, but usually April and May is pretty dry. So just check your soil. That's the best advice I can give you. One mistake that we gardeners make quite often is we use too much fertilizer. Butter beans don't need a lot of nitrogen. My soil tests show me that I have plenty of nitrogen to begin with, so I don't add nitrogen to my beds before I plant, and I also don't fertilize them while they're growing. Here is the perfect butter bean to pick. You see how it's light here and still does not have any brown yet? Here's an example of two. One's ready. It's light and it's starting to turn, but this one is still all green. Within 2 or 3 days, this one will be ready too. Another way to tell is they just kind of feel a little bit dry, whereas this one, where did it go? Just feels real firm. Not quite ready. Once I get my beans harvested, I don't cook them right away. I let them sit for a day. It just makes it easier to shell them. Now, if you're impatient and you want to shell them and cook them, that's fine. But I'd rather wait one day and go do something else while I'm waiting. Once they're all shelled, I cook them all at once, just until they're tender. Then I decide how much I want to put away. I'll save some for that night's supper and any leftovers that I want. But the rest of them, I'll go ahead and put them in a Ziploc or a reusable freezer container. Freezing beans are just that easy. If I were going to can them, that's a whole different story. When COVID hit and we were afraid, what if disaster hits, you know? I decided that instead of freezing my beans, I would can them. Well, if you recall, there was a shortage on lids at the time, and I bought some from Walmart that said made in the USA, and I thought, okay, that's safe. So that was my year of bumper crop of Fordhook butter beans. I was so pleased to can all those beans. I canned them in pints, and they sealed, and I put them away. And when I went to use them weeks later, I discovered that it didn't keep the seal. I lost so many beans. I was so upset. So now I don't can them. And now I know to use only lids from Kerr or Ball. And I know some of you use these reusable lids, and I've forgotten what they are. If you know, you can leave a comment below too. But I prefer to freeze my produce, and I'm going back to that. I do use containers that are reusable, and I prefer to not have to keep buying Ziplocs. One thing I talk a lot about in my channel is how to save money in your garden. And one of the ways that you can save money is to save your own seeds. So I've gone through my patch here, and I've noted which bean plants just seem to be the most prolific. And this is one of them. Look at all the beans that are on this one plant. So I want to replicate that as much as possible. And so this clothespin here is to remind me, don't pick the beans on this particular plant. Once those get to this stage or more, then I'll harvest these beans and I'll save those seeds for next year. Here's another plant that I've marked. Look at all the beans on just that one. Whenever you're saving seeds from your plants, just pick them, shell them, and lay them out in a cool, dry place to air dry. I made the mistake one year of putting them on a very low setting of my dehydrator, and well, they didn't sprout. So now I say air dry them. Here is one pod that's ready to be picked for seed. As long as they're pretty much brown, they're ripe enough. When they're totally brown, the skin will actually be so dry it'll crackle, and you can hear the seeds rattle around on the inside. Can you hear that? These beans are perfect. Let them continue to air dry until they're really, really dry. Then what I do is put them in a Ziploc bag, and I put them in the freezer. When I'm ready to grow Henderson beans again, I've got my seeds. These are seeds from previous years. So the first year I got them from Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, and they are the Henderson Bush beans. I'm not an affiliate, but that's just where I get a lot of my seeds. But these seeds in here are seeds that I have saved from previous years. I ran an experiment one year to see if I really did need to throw away the seeds that had gotten stung. You see that? That is the damage that a stink bug does. They go through your peas, your tomatoes, your beans, and they sting them. But you know what? Most of these will sprout a new plant. So when I have beans that are damaged like that, I keep them and I'll plant them. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Don't throw them away. Use them for seeds. These are the Fordhook Lima beans. planted right next to the Henderson butter beans. I prepared the soil the exact same way. No fertilizer. I'm sure I put some sulfur in there because, as I've explained, I have alkaline soil. Other than that, I don't know why one year I can be loaded with beans and another year I'm not. Sometimes I just think it's a crapshoot. When I saw that the first batch of butter beans were probably not going to be productive, I came to a completely different area of my garden, as you can see, and the vines are beautiful. They're blooming. I don't know if I'm going to have any better results over here. I don't see any pods yet, but they're still young. In years past, I could come out here and lift up these leaves, and there would just be cascades of beans from the bottom all the way up. And you see, I have some here. They're telling me they're almost ready to pick, but there's no beans in there. They're just tiny. So I don't know. If you can help me out, I would really, really appreciate it. I hope I've been able to help you grow Henderson butter beans successfully. I hope you'll help me grow Fordhook lima beans successfully. I sure would like to know what I'm doing wrong. Thanks for watching. Green thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe. I've got lots of videos that I think are going to be helpful for you.
Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me.